The time is precisely 1:15 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News edited by Catherine Pereira and read by Chandima Veerakorn. Headlines. It is planned to obtain $15 billion during the next 5 years from the port city. The amendments given by the Supreme Court on the draft bill will be added at the second reading of the bill. The Prime Minister requests not to look at narrow political corners on the benefit received for the country's future. Cases have been filed against 30 persons on Easter Sunday attack. The opposition supports for the welfare program of war heroes. The 12th National War Heroes Day will be commemorated this afternoon. New York prosecutor says Trump inquiry now criminal. Local stories in detail. The Parliament has commenced the debate on the Colombo Port City Economic Commission Bill. Opening the debate, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa said that the Port City project will be a turning point of the country. He also stated that the necessary legal framework should be prepared to provide required facilities for the investors in order to pay the proper advantage from this project. The Prime Minister stated the government has the responsibility in this regard. It is expected to obtain $15 billion in next month during the next 5 years' time. 200,000 job opportunities will be created during the first 5 years from the project. 83,000 direct and indirect job opportunities will be revived. Facilities should be provided to attract the investors as there is a competition among the world countries to bring the investors to their countries. It is important to develop infrastructure facilities in order to obtain the confidence of investors on the country. The Prime Minister also reiterated that several fields including the airport, highways, city beautification, health and sports should be developed. The amendments given by the Supreme Court regarding the draft bill will be added at the second reading. The public views will also be accepted. The views of all parties will also be obtained. 75% of the jobs of this port city will be owned by the Sri Lankans. He requested all parties and opposition to provide their support for this bill, without looking at the narrow political corners which gives more benefits for the future of the country. Parliamentarian Dr. Harsha De Silva requested the statutory boards to take under the government. State Minister Sarath Weerasekara said in Parliament today that cases have been filed against 30 persons on Easter Sunday attack. 9 cases have been filed. Therefore, no need to be dubious on investigations regarding this attack. Speaking at the debate, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa said that honour will be paid for the war heroes who acted on behalf of the country's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Peace that won should be strengthened. The facilities and payments should be given for the war heroes' families. Parliamentarian Sarath Fonseca said that he is happy to provide the leadership of the army to defeat the terrorism in the country. He said he will pay his homage to the war heroes and their family members. The war heroes dedicated their lives on behalf of the country and the peace of the public. The memory of patriotic war heroes of the Army, Navy, Air Force, Police and the Civil Security Department who sacrificed their lives for the country's sovereignty, territorial integrity and independence will be venerated with floral tributes this afternoon on the 12th National War Heroes Day at Battaramulla National War Heroes Monument. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, dignitaries and war veterans will participate. Relatives of all fallen heroes are expected to join the commemorative event. This year's 12th National War Heroes Day commemoration ceremony, organized by the Ranaviru Seva Authority adhering to strict health guidelines, begins at 4 p.m. with the arrival of the President. Former Western Province Governor Azad Saleh has been admitted to the National Hospital in Colombo following a heart attack, according to sources. However, the leader of the National Unity Front, who was hospitalized last night, is not in a critical condition. He is currently held by the Criminal Investigation Department under detention orders. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing with the local stories.
Now, EPF information and services through an SMS from HDFC Bank.
Continuing with the local stories, Sri Lanka reported its highest ever single-day death toll from COVID-19 on Tuesday, 18th of May, with 34 deaths, raising the overall death toll to 1,015. The Director General of Health Services Tuesday confirmed 34 deaths that occurred from May 11th to May 18th due to COVID-19 virus infection. The total number of deaths due to COVID-19 infection in Sri Lanka is 1,015 by now. Among the 34 deaths reported today are 18 males and 16 females. In most cases, the cause of death is mentioned as COVID-19 pneumonia. To end the local news, the headlines again. It is planned to obtain $15 billion during the next 5 years from the port city. Amendments given by the Supreme Court on the draft bill will be added to the second reading of the bill. The Prime Minister requests not to look at narrow political corners on the benefit received for the country's future. Cases have been filed against 30 persons on Easter Sunday attack. The opposition supports for the welfare program of war heroes. The 12th National War Heroes Day will be commemorated this afternoon. That ends the local news.
දැන් HDFC බැංකුවෙන් EPF ණය තොරතුරු හා සේවාවන් SMS එකකින්
රාජ්‍ය හා පෞද්ගලිකංශයේ රැකියාවේ නියුතු ඔබ කොහේ සිටියත් EPF ණය තොරතුරු හා සේවාවන් ලබා ගැනීම සඳහා කළ යුත්තේ EPF හිස්තැනක් නම හා ප්‍රදේශය සඳහන් කර 071 8 999ට SMS එකක් එවීම පමණයි.
HDFC බැංකුව ඔබ අප සුරකින්න බැංකුව.
A mother knows the pain of each member of the family. Siddhalepa, the trusted relief for aches and pains.
An effective therapy for relief from cold, sneezing, flu, headaches, swelling due to toothaches, rheumatic, discomforts, and muscular aches and pains. Siddhalepa, the Veda Mahatmya in every home.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
On the main news story, more than 2,000 Air Force and Navy personnel have received promotions to their next ranks, coinciding with the 12th National War Heroes Day. Accordingly, 64 officers of the Sri Lanka Navy and a record number of 1,904 other ranks of the Navy have been promoted to their respective next rank with effect from today. In the meantime, Sri Lanka Air Force said 35 of its officers have also been promoted to their next ranks concurrent to the National War Heroes Day. That ends the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya. Brush your teeth twice a day for healthy teeth and gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, your trusted brands in oral care for many years.
Supiriviki Ayurvedic toothpaste for adults. Kakulu Ayurvedic toothpaste for kids. 9 Ayurvedic ingredients of Supiriviki will protect your teeth and strengthen your gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, products from Siddhalepa.
On Watchlight, the National Water Supply and Drainage Board says a 16-hour water supply interruption will be carried out due to urgent maintenance work at the Sapakaskanda grid substation from 8 a.m. to midnight 12 tomorrow. Meanwhile, a water cut will be in effect in several areas of Kalutara district. Thereby, the water supply of Waskadua, Wadua, Potupitiya, Kalutara North, Kalutara South, Katukurunda, Nagoda, Bombuwala and Piliminavatta areas will be interrupted. That ends Watchlight. We move on to world news. Headlines. New York prosecutor says Trump inquiry now criminal. India's holiest river is swollen with COVID victims. Israel Prime Minister says militants set back by years. The New York Attorney General's office says it is investigating the Trump Organization in a criminal capacity. A spokesman for the state's top prosecutor, Letitia James, said the inquiry into Mr. Trump's property company was no longer purely civil. Ms. James has been scrutinizing the ex-Republican president's financial dealings before he took office. The Trumps deny wrongdoing and say the inquiry by a Democratic prosecutor is a political vendetta. Hundreds of corpses have been found floating in the river of Ganges, buried in the sand of its banks. Those who live close to where they have washed up in the northern state of Uttar Pradesh fear they are COVID-19 victims. India has been overwhelmed by a devastating second wave of the pandemic in recent weeks. It has recorded more than 25 million cases and 275,000 deaths, but experts say the real death toll is several times higher. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said Israel's 9-day bombardment of Gaza has set Hamas back by many years. Israel and Palestinian militant groups in Gaza again exchanged fire overnight into the early hours of today. Diplomatic efforts to end the violence have met with little success. France has filed a draft resolution with the UN Security Council in coordination with Egypt and Jordan, calling for a ceasefire. To end the world news, the headlines again. New York prosecutor says Trump inquiry now criminal. India's holiest river is swollen with COVID victims. Israel Prime Minister says militants set back by years. That ends world news. Moving on to development news. The prison's premises of Valley Khadr, situated in the area of 42 acres, is to be planned to re-establish in Millevavatta land in extent of 200 acres in Horana. The new prison complex will be constructed considering the future needs. The land of Valley Khadr prison is to be handed over to the Urban Development Authority. The land will be provided on long-term lease to local and foreign investors formally selected for implementing development projects. The cabinet approval has been received in this regard. That ends development news.
Sports News is brought to you by...
When Aya bought a motorbike, he bought 2 helmets. So sweet of him. I'm sure the other one is for me.
In whatever we do, we Sri Lankans are always thinking of others. When we get Munchie Super Cream Crackers, they're not just for ourselves. Munchie Super Cream Cracker. Super kiyanne nikan neve.
And on sports news, India women will play a test match in Australia for the first time in 15 years during their tour of the country in September. Cricket Institute has learned that the solitary test match will feature as part of the bilateral series, which is also expected to feature a white ball segment, details of which are yet to be announced by Cricket Australia or the BCCI. Australia are set to play 6 matches in fewer than 8 weeks next summer, after a gap of 312 days since their last assignment against India in January, meaning an idling test team will have to relearn the fundamentals of the longest form of the game in an almighty hurry. That ends sports news.
My wife always sets a full lunch table, even if it's just the 2 of us. She always expects people to drop by, like maybe the army.
In whatever we do, we Sri Lankans are always thinking of others. When we get Munchie Super Cream Crackers, they're not just for ourselves. Munchie Super Cream Cracker. Super kiyanne nikan neve.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply. Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
Tourism Minister Prasanna Ranatunga says that the government has decided to establish tourism service centres along the road network connecting the major tourist cities of the country. Under the first phase, 28 tourist service centres will be built in Nuwara, Kandy, Badulla and Kagala districts. These tourist service centres will be equipped with all the facilities required by local and foreign tourists and will be set up in accordance with international standards. That ends Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money. Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
Economic news, courtesy of...
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
Moving on to economic news. Siyapada Finance Company has introduced a leasing facility named AgriLease on behalf of the farmer community. They can utilize this leasing facility to purchase new agri-technology machines to enhance their agricultural activities. That ends economic news.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
Weather Report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
And finally, on the weather report, the Met Department says the showery condition over southwestern part, Western, Sabaragamuwa, central and southern provinces of the island and the windy condition over northern and northwestern provinces are likely to enhance during next few days. Showers or thundershowers will occur at times in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central and northwestern provinces and in Galle and Mathura districts. Fairly heavy falls above 50 millimeters can be expected at some places in western and Sabaragamuwa provinces and in Galle and Mathura districts. Showers or thundershowers will occur at a few places in eastern and Uva provinces during the evening or at night. That ends the weather report.
Weather Report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
And to end this bulletin of news, the headlines again. It is planned to obtain $15 billion during the next 5 years from the port city. The amendments given by the Supreme Court on the draft bill will be added to the second reading of the bill. The Prime Minister requests not to look at narrow political corners on the benefits received for the country's future. Cases have been filed against 30 persons on Easter Sunday attack. The opposition supports for the welfare program of war heroes. The 12th National War Heroes Day will be commemorated this afternoon. New York prosecutor says Trump inquiry now criminal. With that, we conclude this bulletin of news from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.